My name is Alistair Docker. I was the infection control officer of a settlement called Tuddingham. I've spent the last few months working for UK PLC. In the quite likely event that none of us survive this, some record of what happened here needs to be kept. Essentially, what has happened, Black Meadow, a organisation operating outside UK PLC, has been abducting people from GT caravans and bringing them to a rather tasteful manor house in Banbury, experimenting on them and killing them, and all kinds of shit, research into infection, curing infection, infection rates, how it spreads, limb regeneration by the looks of it. Initially 4 of us were, well, abducted. I'm not going to go into names, it doesn't matter, most of them are dead anyway. We were picked for some reason by the employer of the doctor who is living in this installation, Dr. Sheldon. Surgeon without peer, don't get me wrong, but oh wow, utterly evil. Thankfully, a GT convoy on the return trip from Kidderminster crashed into the wall surrounding the manor house. Then there were far too many of us for him to deal with. He has 2 armed guards. I mean, they have no issue with money. They're all packing tranquilizer guns and stun guns. It was... Had there only been the 4 of us here, none of us were combatants, would have been easy prey. But as it was, we've not succeeded in keeping him off, but nobody's died. 4, 5 people have been abducted from rooms within the house. I mean, we have no... As soon as somebody went off on their own, that was it, they were gone. They usually turn up half an hour later, covered in surgical scars. It looked like arms had been cut off, legs had been cut off, the surgical scars just everywhere. We spent the weekend just furiously trying to get in touch with the outside world. It looks like one of his previous victims had kept a treasure hunt of sorts to remind herself of important things, so there were notes scattered across the grounds. And given that they were paper and it has been raining, they were only mildly damaged, so I have to assume that this is an ongoing thing. As soon as somebody leaves, somebody else arrives, or as soon as somebody dies, he gets another load in. This is also not his only facility. Over the course of the weekend, I met him as a truce. Obviously, having so many people here is seriously upsetting his plans, as is the large hole in the wall the APC made when it came through. So we've also had roving bands of infected. I think the body count currently stands at 5, and both GT crewmen from the APC were killed. The driver was killed in the crash. The newbie along from the ride succumbed to infection. It would be Friday night, Saturday morning, I'm not exactly sure when. As for us, Ferret has died from Tuddingham. Various others have died, I'm afraid. I could give names and lists, but basically, if you find this, the APC that went missing from Kidderminster, everyone has died, as has Ashlyn from Tuddingham, but she has been in a bunker. Myself from Tuddingham, but have been working for UK PLC elsewhere. A guy called Matthew, who I don't know, he's also dead. And Professor A. Watts, infection control officer, I believe, from Kidderminster, so my counterpart from Kidderminster. Assume we're all dead. Assume anybody else in that APC was dead. Do not assume that this will not happen again. Black Meadow, the company that this doctor is working for, it's not the first time we've come across them doing weird ass funky shit, and it's not the first time we've come across them experimenting on well, people who rely on UK PLC for protection. We have, as I said, from this girl who was trying to remind herself of things, she had hidden a military radio in pieces around the site. As it is, I believe I'm in contact with UK PLC. It certainly worried the doctor that we had access to this kind of technology. I think I have a Morse code message across warning them to come to Banbury. I am going to hide this somewhere and hope that UK PLC do a full sweep if and when they get here, if we're all dead, obviously. The camera will still be here. And you need to know that this is going on. You need to know that APCs that are going missing are not being destroyed. They're being waylaid by this company and people are being experimented on. Oh God, what else to say? Right, my work. I have various theories on how to help combat the infection. Most useful, I believe, is the virus's current weakness to certain strains of UV light. Like all viruses, it doesn't respond well to UV light, and there are specific wavelengths of UV light that are very effective at combating the infection in its current form. I could give lists and notes, but it would take too long, and frankly I don't know how long I've got, but it's a simple enough experiment to run, get a dialysis machine, plug in a UV light and see what happens. I've had some success in cleaning infected blood packets, so even if it doesn't lead to a full cure, it can at least be used to give settlements and the GT another option for sourcing blood for surgeries. Given that you can take lightly infected blood, effectively irradiate it, and then it can then be used as normal blood. There is also documented cases from before the fall that UV exposure to blood in this manner caused a general increase in general well-being. People's immune systems were significantly increased if they were weakened. So had they had, a serious illness, this kind of treatment can seriously boost the recovery of the immune system. So in cases where people have had things like the antiviral or have had serious cases of infection and their immune systems are shot, this is something that can get them up and going without them immediately succumbing again to infection. What else have we learned? That he can do this and pick specific people off individual transport does bring into question the honesty of certain GT units. Given that we were all going to different places on different APCs and one person has gone missing, it's likely that certain GT members are in the employ of this Black Meadow company. I know they offered myself a very well-paid position to turn over certain members of our party for experimentation, so I can only assume that money is quite literally no object as long as their research is going forwards. I would like to believe that this company, Black Meadow, are not endorsed by UK PLC, because I would like to believe that UK PLC do not regularly experiment on those in their care without at least their foreknowledge and, them knowing what it is they're getting themselves in for. I mean, I know that we have tested or run field tests of new inoculations for the virus, but we've always told people that we were running experiments for inoculations and that this was the first human testing. But I would like to believe that this kind of thing is happening. At least people are, being told what's being done to them. I don't know what to do. There are not enough of us now to withstand a serious wave of infected, and there are a lot of infected kicking around. If we don't hear back from the GT soon, we will likely all be dead and gone by the time anybody gets here.